You know, one of the beautiful things about milling my own lumber is once in a while I find just a spectacular piece of wood. This is tulip poplar, Liriodendron tulipifera, and in the industry they just call it poplar. It's interesting, it's because it's not a true poplar, but that's the industry name. Well, occasionally you'll find a piece that has some dark staining in it. So I had this long board and I cut it in half and I glued the two white pieces back together, and I didn't expect it to turn out near this pretty. This is a very simple table. It's an editing table for a friend of mine. So he gave me the exact measurements of what he needed for where he likes to sit. He likes to sit on a couch and he has a certain height. So he measured the width and the height and the depth of the table and put it all together. And this is what I came up with. I used redwood for the base because I was thinking, well, let's just keep it simple. But as soon as I put this board on top, I really wowed it. So it's held together with little figure of eights. I don't know if you've ever used figure of eights before, but they're a fairly simple device here. This is what they look like. You attach these to the framework, to the aprons of the table, and you have to use a bit that will set them in there so that they set flush. And then when you center the top on there, you can put a screw that doesn't go all the way through the table, of course, and it'll pull it in and hold it tight. But the beauty of these things is, remember that wood is always moving. Wood is always expanding and contracting. And it expands and contracts across the width of the board. So by putting these things in there at an angle, if the wood moves, it twists a little bit back and forth. So you can prevent the board from splitting. If I would have attached it firmly all the way around, and as soon as this had moved a little bit, then it would have cracked somewhere, because you can't constrain the board. You have to allow it to move. So that's a simple way of doing it. I don't know if you've ever used those before. They're fairly inexpensive. You can order them at any of the woodworking supply houses. And currently I'm using a poly and oil finish on this. I've given it 3 coats. I just gave it another coat. It's starting to dry out again. I'm going to probably give it 5 or 6 coats, and then finally a top coat of wax. So it's not quite done yet, but I wanted to share it. I'm quite proud of the way this thing's turned out for a simple project. Well, there it is. Turned out pretty nice. I'm really surprised for a quickie project. If I had realized that top wood was going to be so beautiful, I think I would have used something better than redwood for the base. I would have used some other kind of hardwood. Okay, I know this is a repeat of a video that I did last year, at least the last part of it is. But I wanted to explain a little bit about the table after a year's use. First off, I guess I'm making excuses, but it was just a down and dirty, quick table for a friend so he could serve a purpose. But when I was asked to repair it, I came to the realization that putting the legs like I did created too much side-to-side wobble and too much movement. It would have been better to have maybe made tapered legs that were maybe 3 by 3 going down to 1.5 by 1.5. That would have been a little bit more rigid. But because it was 2 by 4, down and dirty, quick and easy, the movement actually caused some of the joints to separate. But there was some glue to the end grains that absorbed some of it, and the side-to-side movement did pry the dominoes loose on 3 of the 4 legs. So it was a learning experience, and I'm willing to share. So I put it back together the way it is, a little bit more glue. I clamped it a little better, and it'll probably come apart in a year again. But this is an editing base. It's designed for all of Kyle's editing tools, that he can sit in front of the couch get some work done. I like it.